Well, you blocked me on Instagram, so clearly you're pissed.
Oh, not Instagram.
What happened?
You blocked me on Instagram.
You blocked her on Instagram? Oh, it's fucking serious now.
Both of you. The traitors were eliminated, and the greedy people decided to make it a different game.
MJ is mad. She is seething mad. She has every right to be mad. I don't get what John is saying when he says, oh, she shouldn't be upset. She shouldn't be. She has every right. She played the game just like his buddy, Trishelle played the game. So John needs to sit down somewhere. Hey there. Thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Click the like button. Turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing the Traitors US Season 2, The Reunion. So you have everybody, all the participants are there with Andy Cohen, and Andy, is the one who's going to do the reunion. Alan was only for the game and then left the reunion to Andy. And so they all watch the finale, and you can see people are not happy. They're disappointed, I think. Well, it comes across as they're disappointed in the fact that MJ was sort of played by Trishelle and CT. That's the way it came across to everyone. Obviously, John feels some type of way because, his friend is Trishelle, and he feels that MJ has no right to be aggrieved. She can be upset, but she can't be aggrieved. And it's like, no, it's just you switching words. She has every right to feel how she feels, because at the end of the day, all she wanted was to be a winner, and she was willing to share the spoils with them, but they outnumbered her. And so it doesn't make sense. You have the final four come out, and Andy sort of has a conversation with all of them just to see where they stand. And MJ is still upset. She's still upset because even when CT tries to sort of explain why he and Trishelle sort of decided to go for another vote, you could see she was still upset, and CT was like, oh, I'm not going to argue with you, I'm not going to say anything, I'm just going to keep my opinion to my opinion. And it's like, yeah, I guess that's it. Because at the end of the day, she has every right to feel how she feels. They all knew she was a faithful, but they decided to squeeze her out of the money, which doesn't make sense to me. And then, Andy brings up the CT and Phaedra relationship, and they both agree that they really got on very well. And it's nice to see CT sort of acknowledge that he stayed as long as he did because of Phaedra. Had it not been because of Phaedra, he would have been killed off, or he would have been banished. But Phaedra was able to save him to the finale, and that's how he got to win. And so that's cute to see. Phaedra obviously says, oh, she liked him, they got along, they had a sweet relationship. At first she thought he was a mechanic, and it's like Phaedra is going to come up with some of the most strangest things. But it's cute to see their relationship, and cute to see how they still seem to be friends. It's interesting, the sitting arrangement, in the sense that Phaedra is a traitor. She's right next to Andy, and it's like besides she was in the top 6, I think, you'd expect her to be further down and the winners to be next to Andy, but I guess since she's fan favorite. Anyway, they speak to Deontay to sort of ask him, how did it go? How did you feel about being on the show? And he spoke about the fact that, this was able to help him release some childhood traumas. He really enjoyed his time. He appreciated Phaedra, and it's like Phaedra was playing a good game. If Dan hadn't messed up her game, she would have walked away with the money. But Dan was cruel and was selfish and was, jealous. This is why he outed her. You then have Kate. Kate is happy to just be there. She said, she had a 4-month-old baby, and she was happy to be getting 8 hours of sleep. So she really enjoyed her time this time round on the Traitors, unlike in season 1. And it's like, hey, whatever makes you happy. I liked Kate. I liked the fact that she didn't have a filter, and she was, honest to a fault, and she was defensive to those that she really liked. So that I like. Even Dan acknowledges that, which is good. You can see that Phaedra really rubbed these little boys' egos because of the fact that she read Peter for Filth, and she told him, I don't have to kiss your butt, in order to get a rose. So he says, I have something to ask Phaedra, and then he gives her a rose, and she kissed him, and she said, I was looking forward to seeing you and Max because I'm a Bachelor Nation fan. So for you to then run the game the way you did, that rubbed me the wrong way. And then Dan sort of chimes in to say, oh my God, Phaedra, she really humbled. She she humbled them because they looked down on her, and then she read them for filth. So for Andy to bring it up to how did it feel being read for filth by Phaedra, and they're both like, it's a badge of honor. And it's like, well, you came for the queen and you got what you got. This is what it is. You can't, be going for someone and just expect them to sit there and watch you and just take it. No, next time don't judge a book by its cover. You have Sandra and Poverty. Obviously, they have their rivalry from Survivor, and they said they were both not happy to see one another on the first day of shooting, but Peppermint was able to bring them together and get them to iron out their issues so that they could work together. What do I think? I think Sandra should have been in the final. I think Sandra is a smart game player. She didn't need the 250 because she's already won $1 million twice. So, hey, it is what it is. But still, she deserved to be in the final. Poverty, do I think she deserved to be there? No. She should have got out when she got out. And the end is questions. So he asks them, Dan, you were saying that the housewives wouldn't know how to kill someone, they wouldn't know what to do. And he did undermine Phaedra at the start, Dan. And I kept saying, he doesn't know who he's dealing with. He needs to bow down and he needs to take a moment and actually read the room, because Phaedra is way smarter than he thinks she is, and she is the smartest person in the castle. I remember saying this. So for him to acknowledge that, oh my God, hand-to-hand combat, I am nothing compared to Phaedra. Phaedra shredded me to pieces and I was humbled and humiliated. That's the impression that I got, that's how she left him. And I think from now on, he looks at people differently, because he did undermine Phaedra. Even when he was talking to Poverty and he was saying, oh, we're going to kill this person and we're going to kill Sheree. And Poverty was saying, do you think Phaedra is going to go along with this? And he went, no, well, she just has to. Well, he soon learned the hard way that you just don't dictate to Phaedra. It's Phaedra for me. The fact that she's still dragging Dan. Yeah, Dan is trying to justify his actions. Well, I knew if I got to the end with Phaedra, I would have. No, you could have got to the end as two traitors, and the two of you could have won and shared the spoils. You have Trishelle and City share the spoils. So the fact that you were so intimidated by Phaedra that you had to recruit your minion, Poverty, to come in and be your backup so that the two of you could challenge Phaedra is wrong. And the fact that she warned you that don't come for me unless I call for you, and you still decided to call her out and put her in the crosshairs of everybody when you knew you were on your way out, doesn't make sense. I give it credit to everybody saying we didn't know that Phaedra was a traitor. It was Dan who put us on Phaedra. Otherwise, we would never have suspected Phaedra. And for Phaedra to call him a piece of shit, Phaedra is always going to speak her truth. You could tell that it hurt him. It hurt him that she called him that. But for him to say it was a game, no, it wasn't a game. You ruined somebody else's opportunity the same way Trishelle ruined Peppermint's opportunity because you felt intimidated. And because your small boy ego was bruised, you decided to throw her under the bus. There's no justification for that. There's no excuse for that. Dan is still trying to worm his way. You can still see that he's got new wounds that have been inflicted at the reunion by Phaedra, by her calling him a piece of shit. Because he's still trying to say, I think I made a mistake. People already were suspecting Poverty. I think what he's trying to say is that Poverty was an easy target for him. He knew he could throw her under the bus anytime and people would buy it, but he knew that he had to sort of throw some suspicion towards Phaedra. That way people could pick up on it and start sort of questioning Phaedra. But sadly for him, he didn't realize how smart she was. And he asked the group, how many of you suspected? Barely anyone suspected Phaedra to be, a traitor because she was always praying and whatever else she was doing. And, Burgerlicious and not Tekensu. So nobody thought Phaedra was the traitor. They really trusted her. And you have people like Sandra saying, you should have recruited me. That way I would have helped you. I would have saved you. But then at the same time, the way she was burnt by Poverty and Dan, everybody knows Poverty and Dan burnt her because they wanted to save themselves. This is why she ended up going for Kate, who was someone she felt she could trust and someone she could rely on. One thing John and Phaedra are going to do is they're going to read someone for filth. The fact that John is asked, how do you feel, about calling, Poverty a mistress of deception and something? And he goes, well, because her theatrics didn't work on me. They were very amateur and, the way her tears and everything. I enjoyed spending time with her, but I didn't believe whatever she was trying to sell me. So that's why I called her that, because she didn't come across as genuine. I think Poverty and Dan sadly played themselves because they were overconfident. They thought they were the smartest traitors amongst the three of them. And sadly, they didn't realize that by sitting back and doing nothing, Phaedra was actually outsmarting them and was going to outlast them. And so for Poverty to try and sort of try and form a connection with Dan at the last minute didn't make sense. She should have been building connections with people from the start. That way she would have been saved, which I think was maybe Phaedra's saving grace, in the sense that she formed connections with people and was able to build on those connections, and so people trusted her. And so if she ever needed her, they would always have protected her. And so, Poverty says, her biggest regret was recruiting Peter. And Sandra is like, why didn't you recruit me? I think people didn't trust Sandra. They thought she would cut them at this first opportunity, not realizing that she actually had a very good game. Even the game that was mentioned by Peter, I thought it made sense when he said to Phaedra, instead of recruiting Kate, you should have recruited me and then sold me to the traitors to say, I told you he was a traitor. Look, now he is a traitor. But you didn't play that game. And so I think there was a lot of fear and the lack of trust in some of the participants. This is why people made the choices that they did. This season should have been Phaedra Presents the Faithfuls, because at the end of the day, she's the most talked about. She's the most recognized. She's the one with the standout lines. And so she made for great TV. I don't know who they'll find next season to make up for Phaedra, because Phaedra is going to be missed from now onwards. Even CT said it best when he said there will never be a traitor, or there never has been a traitor that will be as good as Phaedra. And so for her, she said, I was there to enjoy myself and do my best, which is exactly what I did. And she kept us entertained. She really did, which was amazing. I personally don't get why John is minimizing MJ's upset, because at the end of the day, she's entitled to feel how she feels. She felt betrayed by Trishelle and CT because they both knew she was a faithful. Even Sandra had vouched for her that she's a faithful. So it came across as greedy, in my opinion. She's right to feel how she feels. John might not feel that same way, but there is no reason for him to minimize her hurt. And for Trishelle to have, her minion do her work and not apologize, I don't get it. Dan then decided to insert himself and said, I want to apologize to Phaedra and I hope we can be friends. I hope she's not upset. And Phaedra said she's upset. I think the thing we can agree upon is the reality TV, there's two sides to it. There is just people just living their everyday life, and there is the people that are in competition. So the people that are in competitions are able to move on, but those that live it as a life are used to holding grudges and sort of feeling some type of way. And I think this is why people like Sandra, Dan, and Poverty, and whoever else from Big Brother can move on from this and just say it's a game. Whereas people like Phaedra, MJ, Kate, they have a right as well to have their feelings validated because they felt betrayed. And at the end of the day, you have to understand that, and you have to apologize, and you have to move on. I don't know. I can't wait for the interviews now that the reunion is out, and I can't wait to see what happens. Apparently, there's going to be a season 3. I wonder who they're going to cast. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And click the link in my video to watch my reviews from episode 10 and 11. Bye guys!